Hello YouTubers, and today's video is Data Ninja makes easy drop-down lists in Microsoft Excel. Now, these drop-down lists are also commonly referred to as drop-down menus, so I'll use those two terms interchangeably throughout this video, okay? Now, drop-down lists are quite a powerful tool within Excel when used effectively, and they're very commonly used in dashboards where people can actually select values in drop-down menus in order to filter and drill down in dashboard views. So that's something that you may have come across, the need to add menus or lists from building dashboards. Okay, so in this example, we're going to show how to create drop-down lists, but then we're going to show them in action by linking some formulas to a drop-down list to show how you can select a value in a drop-down list or a menu, and it'll update all the formulas in a view. And that's similar to what you'd expect if you were building a dashboard. You would expect the drop-down menu to drive the results in either the whole sheet or certain views within your dashboard. Okay, so let's dive straight into the example. Quickly, as always, you're going to need a data source to work off if you want to actually practice in the real world. You can just watch this video, but I always think it's better if you actually have a go yourself. Now, you may have your own data, which is fine, or if not, there's a download link here that's also in the comments where you can go to Microsoft Learn and make use of a free download. I'll quickly do this now. If you just paste that link, you'll see here you can just download a financial sample Excel workbook. Now this is free and Microsoft won't ask for an email or anything like or card details or anything. It's just a free sample data source here, and it's quite a good one for working off. Now, I've already done this and pasted this into my workbook, this sheet, and I'm going to use a previous video's workbook I've done on some if and some ifs, so we can actually modify those formulas to link to our drop-down lists and our drop-down menus. So I would suggest, if you have the time, maybe doing the video I've already done on some if and some ifs first, and then coming on to this, or because it'll benefit you even more. But you don't have to. Okay. Now, so in this case, I've already got a view with some ifs, right? Now, the view is from my financial download. I've got a view on total gross sales by country and product. So the country's here and the product's here, and this is a some ifs here. So I'm not going to go too much into the actual sum ifs formula right now. You'll have to watch the other video. But we're basically, this formula is saying sum ifs, column H in the FS download, which is gross sales, where column B, country, column B equals this value for country, and column C equals this value for product. Okay, now what we want to do is we're gonna incorporate a drop down menu into this view here. Now we're going to make this quite simple to start off with, and from putting a pivot table on our data, again I've done another video on pivot tables as well, which I'd really suggest for you, but you can see here our FS download spans two years, 2013 and 2014. Okay, and that's quite a simple starting point for some drop down menu testing. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a year functionality in here. Okay, so sorry, we'll add the year functionality into our view here. Now you can imagine this is effectively like a mini dashboard we're building. Okay, so let's get started. So the two values we've got for year that we know are 2013, okay, and 2014. Okay, Now we want these to ultimately appear in a drop-down list or a drop-down menu. Okay, that's our starting point. Now we need to actually log down the values we want to appear in any list or any menu. We need to log them down somewhere within our workbook, okay? And then we'll tell our drop-down menu to refer to that list, okay? Now I always like to put these lists on another sheet, especially if I'm building dashboards where I might have multiple menus and lists. I like to have a separate sheet and maybe even protect that sheet um, so um, the lists don't get corrupted or don't get wiped out, because that would make the list um, useless within our dashboard. So that's just something to consider. But basically, we've got the two values here. Okay. Now, what we want to do is when we build a drop-down list or a drop-down menu, I always like to make it very clear to a user where this drop-down menu or list it is, so they don't miss it. So I always personally just I'll put like a clear call out here, and I tend to format along these lines. So I'll do a drop down menu, and then I'll very clearly um, call out where this menu is within a dashboard. You don't have to, but I think you just want to make it very obvious for a user. Like if you're sending a dashboard round to a large business unit or sales team, or users who aren't highly experienced in Excel, you want to make it very clear where a menu is. Okay, now I've done a very clear call out here for my drop down menu. Okay, and then above it I'll just put yeah. Okay, so I'd like to think that's quite clear that we've got a menu here for year. Okay, now what I want is I need the unique values that are available for year. I need them to appear as a menu, as a list within this cell. Okay, so what I need to do is I'm going to go insert, and then I'm just going to add, sorry, I'm going to go data validation. Okay, list. So I go to the data tab, then I'll go date. I'll just start that again. So I went to the data tab here, data validation. Okay, and then I want to go list. Okay, and then just going to select my list here. Now, a good practice as well, I sometimes like to add a few more cells beneath my list, one or two in this example, so my list may grow throughout a time period, and it'll make it easier to kind of add more values, but I'll just add another blank cell there. Okay, now once I've selected the list, press the source, press OK. Okay, now within here you'll now see I've got my values, my unique values. Okay, go 2013, 2014, and you'll see I've also got my blank value here, which we don't really want anyone to pick up, but in future, if this dashboard's running for a long time, I could just add a value in there and you'll see 2015. Okay, now you can edit this list at times as well if you need to. Maybe the dashboard's running for a few years or more, okay, and you want to actually add more years. Let's try and just quickly do that. So go data validation, and we can actually update this source to add more rows. Okay, if and when this grows. So you'll see here, sorry, let's do that again. Data validation, list. I might have just messed that up a bit before, and then we'll just go like this. And then you can see here, I can expand this list as and when I need to. Now, that has created a menu here, and that's running effectively. Now, one thing I'd recommend if you're building a dashboard is you need to somehow protect these lists. You don't want them to get overwritten or deleted and so on. One thing I always do if I'm building a large dashboard is I'd actually put the lists on a separate sheet. So let's quickly do that, and we'll call the sheet validation, okay, and we'll just clearly call out clearly call out as well in this list where the menu is for the user. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another value at the top, and I'm just going to put please select yeah, okay, and then I'll put this here, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to go data validation list, and then I'm going to go on my validation sheet and select that range, okay, and then I've added a value at the top, please select year, as a call out to the user, but when you send the dashboard you might have it defaulted to a year already. Then we can delete this here, we no longer need this. So this is really best practice. What I've done, I'm just storing my lists on a separate sheet, and then what you might want to do is protect this sheet or hide it, or both basically. So you can go format, protect sheet, and you can add a password, okay, or you can hide this sheet eventually when you want to send your dashboard, because the lists in these sheet, you don't want them to get deleted or overwritten, because that will ruin the menus in your dashboards, okay? So that's something for you to think about when you're building Excel dashboards, okay? But anyway, here's our drop down list here, okay? And we know we don't actually have data for 2015 and 2016 yet. So what we're going to do, we're just going to delete this, okay? We'll just leave it as is, okay? Now, let's move on. So we've effectively set up a drop-down menu or a drop-down list, okay? Let's incorporate this into a formula. So you can imagine, if you want, this is like we're building a dashboard, and this dashboard has quite a lot of different views, different tables within it, and these tables are all linked to the menus at the top of the dashboard. That's quite a common way for dashboards to work. So you can just imagine this is our dashboard, okay, but we've only got one view at the minute, okay. Now what we want to do is we want to link our SUMIFS formula to our drop-down menu. So what we would do is, we've got a SUMIFS formula here which is summing. I'm going to start again. I'm going to start this formula again, but it's summing gross sales currently by country and by product, okay. Now let's start again for the sake of displaying this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say equals SUMIFS, okay, and I'm going to do this point and click, and then I'll do it with named ranges. So I'm going to SUMIF gross sales, comma, okay, then I'm going to select, point and click country, comma, so comma is effectively equals. I'm going to go back into my sheet, SUMIFS gross sales, column B equals our country value here, okay, and then I'm going to flip back to my sheet, and I'm going to select column C, and I need to press comma, and then I'm going to select product here, my product value here. So I've gone through this in more detail on my sum ifs video. So I'm telling Excel to sum if gross sales, which is column H, where column B equals my value here, and column C in FS download equals my value, my product value here. Okay, now that was in the workbook before. Okay, now that I've added this new menu, I also want to link to this menu. So I'm just going to expand this formula. I'm going to press comma, right, which will start the next dimension. Then I'm going to point and click. I'm going to select column P. Then I'm going to flip comma, go back to my sheet, and I'm going to link to my menu. Okay. Now, one thing I need to do, I need to fix my link here to this cell. Now, this menu is obviously just populating my one menu cell here, which is cell G21. Okay, so I actually need to fix to this. If I don't fix to this, formulas in Excel will go to relative referencing. They default to a thing called relative referencing. So you'll see here, this is referring to G21, but as I drag it down, this is referring to cell G22. Now, what I want you to do is to fix referencing, you need to use a dollar symbol. So I'm going to fix to G21. Okay. Now this is called a fixed reference. And now you'll see that has worked. Okay. Because each cell down here is fixing to G21 where my menu is. Okay. Now, what I've actually done another video on fixed and relative referencing, so I'd recommend watching that video as well. But that's a very quick fly through and quite a good example of fixed referencing. If you use lists or menus in Excel, especially in dashboards, you're pretty much guaranteed you'll want to use fixed referencing, because those menus are just going to be in one location or one cell within your dashboard or your worksheet. Okay, so you're going to have to learn fixed referencing. Okay, but you can see this has worked. Now you'll see the power of a menu. So when I select values within this menu, it's going to update. All my formulas are going to update because they're all linked to this menu. You see I've pressed 2013 now. Every formula here is understanding that this sum if is based where year equals 2013 or 2014. You see all of the values are updating. So you can see how powerful that menu is. For instance, if you're building a dashboard, you can have 1, 2, maybe 3 key menus, sometimes more, but with dashboards, I recommend you don't build too many menus. Sometimes it's simpler to maybe have 3 or 4 is quite normal. Something like more than 6 menus would be starting to get a bit heavy on the menus, and it depends how competent the users of your dashboards are. So you need to judge, are the people who are receiving these dashboards, are they capable of driving like over half a dozen menus at one time, or would it just be simpler for them to work with 2 or 3 key menus? So that's really for you as a designer to judge the business or the requirements you're meeting. Okay, but this is just one menu driving one sum ifs view here. Okay, as an example. Now that's really it. One thing I'd just quickly like to go through is an alternative, which is using named ranges, because you can see this formula's got quite long within this worksheet, and it's because I've been doing point and click. As you point and click, Excel effectively writes the formula out. But you can see I had to navigate and jump between sheets quite often, which is quite a difficult way of working, and it's easy to error out your formula when you're constantly jumping between sheets. So I'm gonna quickly do this again with named ranges, and again I've done another video on named ranges which I'd really recommend you go through. So here we're going to redo this but with named ranges, and I'm going to fly through it now. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to call column H gross sales, we're going to call it gross. We're going to call column B country. Okay, we're going to call column C product, and finally we got year here, so we're going to call column P year. Now I'm flying through these named ranges, so again I'd recommend, for more detail on name ranges, watch the video, but I've created 4 named ranges and you can see them here: country, gross, product, year. Okay, now you can also see them in our named manager, which is here. You can see what range each one is. Okay, now I'm going to build the same formula with name ranges, and you'll notice I won't need to click and keep jumping in between sheets now. I can just type out this formula quite quickly. I'll go equals sum ifs, okay, gross, which is what I want to sum, and then I want to go country equals this, okay, product equals this. I'll cut my value here, and then I want to finally call out year equals this, and then I'm going to fix to my year cell. Okay, now I'm covering a few different things here. I'm covering not only sum ifs, I'm also covering named ranges, and I'm also covering fixed referencing. But you can see how quickly I've typed out this formula, and I press enter, and I'll just click there. You'll see that's all working, and again, as I drive this menu, you'll see how this is updating. So this is some really useful tools to start building dashboards if you want to get really good at building Excel dashboards. We've covered sum ifs, we've covered drop down lists, drop down menus, we've covered named ranges, and we've covered fixed referencing. This is all really great stuff for you to upskill in Excel. And that's the end of the video, and please subscribe to my channel so I can keep bringing you this free content. Thank you and goodbye.